We are back, and today I am joined with my childhood best friend, Cara, who I have been through hell and back with, and she's going to share her story as well as talk about our friendship. So join in to part one. Let's get started.
Hi, everyone.
How are you?
Oh, I am good.
Okay, so you reached out to me. We go in spurts of talking. It's kind of like that, like we are still in the same spot. We just don't talk 24/7.
Yes,
Um,
adult life.
Yes. But you reached out and you had heard the podcast that I was a guest on, or I had shared of my story, what I went through, and then you have a pretty similar story.
Yeah, yes. First, actually, I really just want to say you are amazing, and I love the place you
Oh,
are at in your life right now.
thank you.
And it's so awesome, like seeing all of the people like we went to school with, even if we weren't friends with them, just like everyone is doing good in their life, and I love that.
Yeah,
I
I
love
know.
that.
It's really cool to like look back and like we have remained friends for fudge. I was gonna say that word, fudge. Years and years. I know our moms will listen
Years.
to this, so I feel like they're gonna be like, Lindsay and Cara, you guys need to stop it. Like we're not sixth
Right.
graders anymore, but
Right. No, no.
we we really have came a long way, and we've been
Yes.
there like on each other's journey. We've been there for each other. Um, in really, really, really dark times. I think you are the only person that I feel like there's a couple people from like my childhood, you being like the one that has been there through the darkest of dark. And
Yes.
it's been an eye-opening experience.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you probably have felt the same way and probably still do, but like what I went through, I am very cautious about telling people for multiple reasons. Like, number one, I cannot believe that I allowed myself to go through that. And
Yeah.
number two, like, I don't want to tell people for them to feel sorry for me.
Yeah, I
I
can
want to
relate to
tell
that.
people because I want people to know, like, you can get over it. You can, not over it, because you never get over it, but you can get through it. You can get past
Right.
it. You can get to the other side of it.
Yeah.
And, like, there's no shame in going through it.
Do you look back on things now and like with our us growing up, like we have parents who are still married. Like we didn't grow up in chaos. So for
No.
us to end up in it, like it kind of feels like for me, I don't know if you can relate. I have questions like where did I go wrong?
Yes. I ask myself all the time. And, since I reached out to you, oh my gosh,
It's
it's
fine.
Friday.
It is.
Since I got a hold of you,
Yes.
and I, have been thinking back, trying to figure out what all to say and, how to say everything. And I look back and I'm like, what did I do to deserve that? Which the answer is nothing, everyone.
Nothing.
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 Neither of us.
Nothing.
Nobody. Well, no, I shouldn't say nobody. Most people don't do
Most
anything to deserve
people.
that. Like,
Yes, I agree with you.
but yes, I look back and I'm like, what did I do wrong? Like, I feel like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing
You were. You were.
in life?
So like rewinding it back to like our childhood. We grew
Yes.
up, we had a normal childhood, I feel for the most part. My dad
Yeah.
coached, you would always come with.
Mm-hmm.
When we would go to like practice, like we would go to like the high school practices where all the hot boys with their shirts off, and
Right.
like we were only like in what,
Yes.
sixth grade?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a couple other girls that I can think about, doing that with. And I'm just laugh because I'm like, oh my gosh, like we were so young and we thought we were really cool. And it was like you grow up and you think you're gonna marry your Prince Charming and everything's gonna be just perfect. And like that's how we grew up. We grew up in kind of like a
Yes.
bubble.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my like adult plan was I was going to get married when I was like 20, 21. I was going to have a couple kids. And by the time I was, like 25, 26, I was going to be done having kids and we were going to live our happy little life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can relate to that because like I dated a guy all through high school. I was not going around and like partying, like getting around that way. Like I was in
Right.
a committed relationship. I thought that was the person I was going to marry. And then I kind of experienced college and was like a little bit wild child. And
Yeah.
that's completely opposite of what I thought when I was like younger.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I went through my little wild phase too,
Who
so
doesn't? Nobody judge us on this because who doesn't live that stage? Really, really.
for at least a time.
Yeah, and if you
I,
haven't, then go away. I'm just kidding.
I mean, really though, like,
You have no
I'm
room
not
to
saying
judge. Yeah.
I'm not saying sleep around with everyone because that might not be, healthy, but
No.
like, do what you want to do.
Live a little. And if you feel
Live
like
a
doing
little.
something, do it because we have, and I don't think, I think we should touch on this. We experienced a lot of loss in high school, like
Yes.
death. And I feel that was very, like, being an adult now, I feel like that was very abnormal.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Um, yeah, yeah,
That's crazy.
it's crazy. And I think that may, maybe made us grow up a little bit faster,
It did. Yeah. And
at
that
least
kind of
emotionally.
emotionally, and I think that kind of contributed to the whole like we need to live our lives and just have fun. And I'm not saying like be wild, but like we wanted, and maybe I'm only speaking for myself, but for me, I wanted that affection and I wanted that family so bad that I think I let myself be vulnerable with someone who gaslighted me and manipulated me into thinking that our lives were going to just be perfect, and obviously that wasn't the case.
Yeah, so I mean that is 100% the same as my story, and I guess maybe that's a good way to lead into that.
Yeah, it's a good segue. I want to hear. Let's talk. Like,
Yes. Okay.
yeah.
So obviously your listeners don't know, but like I have been a single mom since I became pregnant.
Yes, I know.
And, my child was an accidental pregnancy,
Yeah.
but I love her to death and I would not change anything about how she came about or, yeah, being a single mom was super hard. It was hard. And I do deep in my soul wish that I could have given her both of her parents, but that's not how it worked.
Right.
And that's just life.
Yeah.
But now I say that. But like, back then, when she was, oh, I think she was like 4, about to turn 5 when, no, she was 3, about to turn 4 when me and, we'll call him,
That's a great name.
yeah, got together. I just, like you said, I so wanted that family. I wanted that happy ever after. I wanted somebody to love us and like truly love us. And actually, one of our other childhood friends introduced me and him.
Oh,
Not not at all. Disclaimer, they had no idea what he was actually like.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. I need like a background. You'll have to tell me. I mean, yeah, you'll have to tell me because I need to like, or we can just bleep it out.
Yes. So yeah. Well, it's actually that the one you just asked me about before we started.
Okay. Okay. Then yeah, I already,
She,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I know that.
yeah.
Okay.
That was the one that introduced us. So,
Okay. Oh, wow.
yeah, yeah. So, you know, I the first 6 months is not really me. So he is a correctional officer at
Okay.
a prison in our hometown.
Well, that's a red flag number one, but go ahead.
Right.
Go
So
ahead.
there.
What
So I'm going to say this with
qualities?
a
Yeah,
disclaimer of not all of them are the same, but
correct.
between my child's father, who is a police officer, and him, I pretty much have just wrote off law enforcement as far as dating.
And I'm married to a cop, so here we are. But he's
Yeah,
a good one. He's a good one.
right,
So
right. There are some, and they could be wonderful people. I'm just not interested in dating any of them anymore.
I will tell you though, a lot of them, and I'm not speaking for the police department that my husband's associated with specifically. I'm saying a lot of them are liars. They step out on their marriage,
Yes.
and they think that they can get away with things that they cannot get away with. What qualities like do you feel he drew you in with?
Well, so I mean, I knew him. He was in our friend circle.
Okay.
So, he knew as my daughter,
Hmm.
obviously for people listening, but
Yeah.
he knew us. He knew the situation. He knew, and love bombing. He love bombed. Looking back, he love bombed the shit out of me. Sorry. Oh crap.
No, you're fine. You're swear all you want. I mean, our moms are probably, oh my God, why are you guys swearing? It's fine. It's
Right.
fine. We are
But
34 years old. It's fine.
exactly. Yeah. Like, like I said, look, you don't realize it when you're in it. You're just like,
Right.
oh, like he wants to take me out to dinner. He wants to do all this stuff. He wants to buy me things. He wants to do this and this and this, and it's great at the time. It feels good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's a person around really that doesn't like to feel good about themselves.
Right. Yeah.
Like. And so the first 6 months were great. And then so his big thing, there's literally just so much I don't like even know where to go. But he so wanted us to move in with him, and I was not willing to, not necessarily part with my independence,
Right.
but it scared me to move in with him because first off, I'm like, we've been dating for just like 6 months.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. How long into 6 months?
It
Okay.
was, well, I mean, it was a few months in when he started asking me, but he really started pushing it about 6 months.
Okay.
And I just was not willing to, I guess, like I said, give up that. I mean, I was staying at his house 3 or 4 nights a week. Me and she had stuff at, I was still living with my parents
Yeah.
because I moved back in with them when I got pregnant.
Yeah.
So, like, we had stuff at both houses, which was stupid stressful. And I don't know why I ever did that, but
What did your mom and dad think of that? Because I know, knowing your parents, I feel like, were they concerned?
um, I mean, really not really because they liked him. He was great. He was good to them. He was nice. He was, he still is. He's still, I mean, well, my parents don't like him anymore, obviously, but like
Obviously.
he'll try to talk to them in the grocery store and he, tries to like give them hugs and says he misses them. And it's just
Oh,
so uncomfortable.
yeah. That's
Um,
cringy.
so yeah, kind of the first issue really was I wouldn't fully move in there.
Okay.
And that caused just a lot of arguments, which I didn't think anything about. Like arguments happen, it's
Yeah.
not. So then it was probably, I don't know, 3 months later, he, I guess I don't know how much of this I should talk about.
It's okay.
He got into an issue at work
Okay.
and did not work for the next year and a half.
Well,
Was still getting paid.
we didn't name where it was, so it's
Well,
okay.
that is true. So he was still getting paid. He was
Okay.
just on
And,
suspended leave.
so like administrative leave.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. So that is where a lot of the issues began. Um, Gosh. So the first real like big issue, and I should have just left, but I walked in the house, mind you, I pretty much lived there,
Yeah.
and he was sleeping on the couch, and I didn't know he was sleeping on the couch. He pulled a gun on me, loaded gun,
I can
because I
relate to
walked in the
that.
house. Yeah,
Oh my God, that's terrifying. That's a feeling, and I want to just like, for context, tell listeners that is a feeling that unless you've had that done to you, you do not understand that feeling.
no,
Pure terror. Like there is no, like that
yeah,
sends you into fight or flight, and that, like, I mean, that takes years to get out of.
yeah. There is
That's
no
terrifying.
feeling I've ever felt like having a gun pointed at me. I mean, I've been around guns, I've shot guns, but yeah, that is something that you never forget.
Yeah.
So that actually happened twice, honestly, twice.
Oh my, oh my God.
And so a lot of what went on with him was emotional and mental abuse.
Yeah.
I was the one going to work, making money, working two jobs, going back to school, but then I was never home enough. I wasn't attentive enough. I didn't love him. I didn't care about him. All the
And
while I'm trying to make money to pay our bills.
And that's, I feel like that's a manipulation to make you feel bad,
Absolutely.
you know? Yeah.
Yes. And so, I mean, that obviously continued on for a while. Um, and 2020, 2019, this will play a part in the other things. I had weight loss surgery. So,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
lost a significant amount of weight.
Yeah.
And that then there was just always something because then that became the issue.
Okay.
I mean, he literally looked at me one day and said, I wish you were fat again because you're such a bitch now.
Well, for all I don't give a shit about I'm being transparent. Fuck you, dude.
Yeah,
Who are you? Yeah, I'm like,
right.
who do you think you are? Wow, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
That's really messed up.
Yes.
What were
And
you feeling in that moment?
I honestly, it felt like shit. I did not think that I had changed that. I mean, my personality did not change.
Right. You've always been genuine and very like just what you see is what you get, and you're not a bullshit
Yes.
around the type of person, which I feel like is why we've gotten along so
No.
well.
Right. And I try to, for the most part, like be decent and courteous. And
Yeah.
even if I have something maybe negative to say, I don't feel like I try to say it in a bitchy way.
No, you're like I said, like I feel like we're the same. Like you're gonna
Yeah.
be honest. You're not gonna be like, oh yeah, sure, yeah, just because you're in a relationship, yeah, you should stay. No, that person treats you like shit or that person cheated on you, then you need to leave. But I think
Right.
it's hard because we don't do that ourselves, right? It takes a long time to get out of a relationship. You can't just
Yes.
leave,
No. No.
especially
So
with kids.
yeah, I actually did leave once, like I broke up with him. I took all my stuff back home, and then I ended up going back
Mhm.
because he manipulated me.
Yeah.
It's going to be better. It's going to be different. I'm going to change. I'm going to go to therapy.
Mhm.
This is all sounding very familiar, I'm sure.
It's very familiar. Yeah, we literally, for listeners, we have pretty similar stories.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it just went on, and it was every single, I was not sleeping. He would literally, I would go to sleep, and maybe not even 20 minutes, an hour later, he would wake me up and just scream at me all night long.
Yeah.
And then I would get the kids ready for school. He had two kids. I just have the one.
Okay.
Get them
Okay.
ready to school, get them on the bus, go to work, go work my second job, come home, and just continuing over and over and over.
What did the kids think of that? Because I talk about like, kids being exposed to that obviously puts them into a place to endure trauma. And
Right.
how were they dealing with that? Or did they see any of that?
So they did not, I know they did not see it. I did not think they knew anything about it. I didn't think they heard it, anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, my daughter's 10 now, so we discuss things that are in an appropriate way for her age. But, I discuss things with her because one, I'm fairly transparent with my kid for age appropriate,
Yeah.
discussions. And number two, I don't want her to think that that was okay and that that is how somebody should be treated.
I love that. I think you're a beautiful mom and I've seen you parent and I think that you are incredible. Like
Well, thank you.
I know
Like
I
it
tell
would
that
literally, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I know I tell people that a lot, but like I truly mean it. If I tell you you're a good mom, I mean that.
Yeah. Yeah. It would literally break my heart if I found out that she was getting treated the way I was treated.
Yeah,
And I think that's what everybody wants for their kids. Everybody wants better for their kids if they were in a bad situation.
not my ex.
Well, every mom, most
Yeah,
moms,
most
I guess.
moms.
And so she has basically just said like she knew he was mean to me. He didn't talk nice to me.
Hmm,
Those kind of things. And this is going to get into where I'm probably going to cry.
that's okay.
Um,
That's
so
okay.
I remember one night. So kind of after like things started getting really bad before I left, like they got emotionally really bad with abuse.
Yeah.
I I'm not gonna bullshit. I was drunk or high literally anytime I was in the house.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay.
Like I
No
was,
judgment.
and it's terrible. But I remember sitting on our kitchen floor with me, his two kids, and him because I couldn't go anywhere without him. He was always there.
Oh, okay. So controlling.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He literally would drive me to go hang out with my friends.
That's
I couldn't
familiar.
drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I was sitting there taking shots of alcohol while my children were taking shots of juice. And disclaimer to listeners, that is not okay. And
No.
that was a shitty parent moment for me, and I will admit it.
Yeah.
But I was so, honestly, I was just trying to survive. And I'm sure you
Yeah.
understand, you feel the same. Like I was just trying to do whatever it took to survive.
Oh, I will be completely honest. When I went through my situation, I was with an alcoholic. Obviously, you've met him,
Yeah,
so you know how he was always drinking, always, always.
always.
I thought it was okay too. And I
Yeah,
think that we as society have normalized drinking so much that we are just like, oh, you know what? Kids are going to be exposed to it eventually. So why not? And I've literally seen people have like parties and like, or they're giving kids like fake alcohol to make them feel included with the grown-ups. That is wrong. I
yeah,
mean, but like, those are people who like just do it for all the time. Like
right.
it's not a traumatic situation. It's just
Yeah.
who they
No, I mean,
are.
I will admit that, like I said, I will admit that was a very shitty parent moment. Like,
Well, yeah, I've
th-
had a whole bunch of those.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm not afraid to admit that. I think the takeaway from that specific event is you just learn to do better.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that
Like,
you said that. That's really
yeah.
relatable.
And that's all. People are going to be people. Adults, humans are humans, you know,
Yeah.
and humans do shitty things sometimes. Whatever
Absolutely.
that shitty thing may be, they do. And if you want to say you've never done a bad thing in your life, not you specifically, but if people want
Yeah.
to say they've never done a bad thing in their life, they're lying.
You know, like turning somebody in for drinking on the cheerleading squad and then getting kicked off of it before we went to state. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I don't know what you're talking
I
about.
mentioned that on a podcast, and so I'm like, oh God. I fell into a hole and twisted my ankle. I remember, like, you know who I'm talking about. We'll just
Yes.
bleep her name. Um, her giving me a penny and sticking it under my tongue is like, that's gonna get rid of alcohol. Nope. You
Nope.
taught me a valuable lesson, though. I love you for that.
Well, you're welcome.
No, I like that you said like we all have shitty moments because we do. Nobody's
Yes.
perfect. Nobody.
No, no. And so, phew, like I said, there's just like so much. So I'm gonna say, because I've said this a million times when I tell people, like it doesn't sound as bad as it is,
Okay.
or it doesn't sound as bad as it was. Like explaining it, I'm like, oh well, that's not that bad. But it was just literal, constant emotional abuse, like
Mhm.
constant. From the minute I would wake up until the minute I would go to bed if he would let me.
If you feel comfortable, can you like share a couple examples just to like for context of like so people understand the seriousness, like not just like you're stupid, like actual examples because I think people don't like take this as serious as it should be taken.
Right, right. So,
If you feel comfortable.
no, definitely. I mean, I don't, it's, yeah, I don't not feel comfortable. I, let, let me say something again. One other thing before I start with this.
Okay.
Um, I don't think people realize, and if you have not done research about it, which I'm sure you have, extended exposure to abuse and trauma affect your mental
Yeah.
and your brain function.
Yeah. Yeah. And it
So,
takes years, you guys, literally years to get back from that.
right. And part of your most people's automatic response to trauma is trying to block it out.
Hmm. Whether it's unconscious or subconscious or conscious. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
So it is sometimes kind of hard to pick out exact things that he would say to me.
Hmm. Are there certain things that trigger you now?
So, yes, I would say somebody telling me I'm not doing enough or me feeling like I'm not doing enough because I was
Mhm.
constantly told that. The
Okay.
house wasn't clean enough. The food I cooked wasn't good enough. I didn't cook it early enough. I didn't wake up early enough to make breakfast. I didn't wash the dishes. Now, mind you, this whole time,
Hmm.
he is at home 24/7 because he's not going to work.
So what is he doing during this time? Do you even know what he was doing?
No idea.
Okay.
No idea. I, so, it was just constant. There was
Yeah.
always, and it wasn't just, he wouldn't just be like, oh, hey, like, could you do the dishes next time? No, everything was screaming, yelling in my face.
Yeah.
It wasn't a conversation. It wasn't you know, that for dinner. Can you not cook it? It was, why the F did you cook this? Blah, blah, blah. I don't like this. I don't know why you would even cook this. I'm not eating this. I'm just going to go find something to eat. And
Oh,
just constantly.
yeah.
And, my biggest thing. So another thing that triggers me is like getting woke up after I went go to sleep.
Hmm.
And the person I'm with now, he is great. He treats me well. He doesn't understand. He's never been through anything traumatic. He's never like experienced anything like that. So a lot of times he doesn't get that it is a big issue.
Right.
It doesn't seem like a big issue, and it's not a big issue that, like for example, like if I were to fall asleep on the couch or something and he woke me up to ask me a question.
Yeah.
No, it should not be an issue. It's not an issue. Like he can ask me questions all if he wants.
Yeah.
But that is a trigger for me because I was constantly not allowed to sleep.
Oh.
Yeah. And, for like days, I would
Okay.
maybe get 2 or 3 hours of sleep in a day because he was up all night. He worked overnights. So he
Okay.
would, even when he was not working, he still kept the same schedule. So he would sleep all day while I was at work and then be up all night. And, it wasn't just him waking me up because he wanted to hang out with me. It was him waking me up and screaming at me for hours about whatever or nothing or
Yeah.
everything. Like,
Do you
so that
remember, I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember a time when something similar happened to me and we had a conversation a little bit about this and it was like we had talked like randomly in the middle of the night and we both were experiencing that. Do you remember that by chance or
I
maybe not?
do. I
You
do
do.
actually. Yeah.
So, when you think about like that moment, like and you can like look at like the fight, flight, or freeze, or fawn. I guess that's a lot of F's. Blech. Um, fight, flight. Are you? Because I'm a flight person. Like I will take off. But did that like constant screaming at you? Did that cause you to fight back and like scream back, or did it cause you to like kind of cower and just like that was like that submissiveness of like feeling inadequate, or did it cause you to like take off and like just like I'm out of here?
So at first, I would fight back.
Hmm. Yeah.
At first, my mentality was, well, I'm not gonna let somebody speak to me like this. Like this is not okay. And I thought in my head, like maybe if I stand up to him, he'll realize it's not okay and stop.
Yeah.
But eventually, after you get broken down so much, I would sit there. I would just sit there and cry.
Oh, I
Like I
can
remember
relate.
so many nights sitting on the floor by our bed, just literally bawling my eyes out, begging him
Hmm.
to let me go to sleep.
I'm so sorry you went through all that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, it sucks.
We
It sucks.
went
And like,
we went to Pizza Hut, I think. Do you remember going to Pizza Hut and talking about stuff like this
yes, when
back in
your
the
oldest was
day?
a little tiny baby.
Oh, little baby. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
It feels surreal to look back on that.
Absolutely, it does. It does, yeah. But, I just I remember, I remember my life just seeming like two completely different lives because I
Hmm.
would go home to that
Hmm.
and then I was working at the bank and I
Oh,
would go to
okay.
the bank
Yeah.
and just go about my day and pretend like nothing was going on. And I honestly, and I don't know if you felt the same, but
Hmm.
I thought people didn't know.
Oh, yeah. I thought
You
people
know,
didn't know either.
I thought it was fine. I was doing good. I was hiding it.
Hmm.
And then my boss called me in her office. And this was kind of the start of me being like, okay, like I maybe need to leave.
Right.
The start, I say.
You said
It
that.
wasn't me leaving,
Yeah. You said
but
that thing about nobody knowing. And I think I remember having a very similar conversation with you back then. And I just, I think, and you can tell me, yeah, we can be completely transparent. I made things look really good to you.
yeah.
I thought, okay, like this is gonna pass. Like and I am not in any way diminishing like veterans because I think you've dated veterans as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, PTSD is real. Okay, yes, we got it, but
Hmm.
that is not an excuse to treat people and physically or sexually or emotionally or verbally abuse them.
Yeah, no, not at all.
But I
Not
thought
at all.
in the moment that I didn't think it was an excuse, but I was like, oh, like this is why.
Yeah.
And I think in positions of like law enforcement and things like that, like sometimes it can, and I'm not saying like specifically or anything, but like it can be like, oh, well, they have a traumatic job. And, well, that's, people cope with alcohol or people, get irritated or whatever. Okay. I'm with a law enforcement officer now and he is nothing like that. Like he
Right.
does not treat me like shit. Yes, I've done things, but like looking back on that, it's really funny because I made things look really good to you because I
Yeah.
didn't think anybody was going to know or anybody would know. And same with you. I think we've both done that. It's very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, just knowing you for
What?
oh my gosh, hold on. My
Okay.
phone keeps trying to connect to my Apple CarPlay.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. We can
Let me
wait.
unplug that.
Okay.
Okay, we're good now.
Okay. Knowing,
Um,
okay, you said knowing me for, and then that's all I heard.
you know, no, back in that time, knowing you for as long as I'd known you, I knew you were not happy,
Yeah,
but I didn't, I really did not know the extent of it, obviously. And,
nobody did.
I just thought you guys were having a hard time. You were a new mom. He had a stressful job or didn't have, I didn't even know he didn't have a job, to be
So
honest.
I didn't either. That's something I found out
Yeah,
during everything. I thought he was going to work every day. I don't know where he was going besides the strip club. So
right,
I
right.
don't know.
So, I just thought, well, this is a stressful time for you guys,
Yeah,
and I think, and I'm terrible about this too, but I know personally, I'm like, oh, well, if they need me, they'll reach out. No, they won't.
yeah, yeah.
No, they won't. Most people will not because, like we've talked, I didn't want anybody to know what was going on.
There's some shame associated with that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's not necessarily that I feel ashamed of myself, but I feel ashamed that
Right.
I allowed that to happen for so long.
Same. Yeah, same. I can relate to that. When your boss called you into her office, did she know or was she suspicious of
Mm,
it or what?
no. So I will play out the conversation.
Okay.
So my boss called me, and I say my boss, she's like 3 years older than me,
Okay.
but she was in fact my supervisor.
Yeah.
She pulled me in her office and she said, "So what's going on?" I said, "Nothing. Like it's a Tuesday. Like nothing's going on." She's like, "No, like what's going on? You're not okay."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, I'm just having some issues at home. Like I'll be fine. I'm sorry. Like I'll try harder to not bring it to work."
Right.
Like I said, "I'm fine. I'll figure it out." And that was kind of the end of it.
Yeah.
Um, and so then that was kind of a kick in the gut for me, really, because like I said, I thought people didn't know. I thought I was hiding it well. I thought I was, existing in society as I did before. Like,
Looking
so,
back on that, how do you feel? And maybe you can't answer this, I don't know. How do you feel people saw you change? Do you think they saw like you're kind of like that sparkle go out of your eye? And
oh, absolutely.
is that, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, well, I've been with who I'm currently with for 4 years. So this probably was 5-ish years ago that this was the point we're talking about now.
Yeah, yeah,
And I will be 100% honest and real. I still don't feel like I'm myself.
yeah. I'm
I,
just
s-
getting to it, girl.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's so hard. And
yeah.
I don't think people realize the lasting effect of somebody just continually breaking down who
No.
you are as a person. I mean, it got to the point with him that like things that made me happy were wrong
Mhm.
and it was awful and it was stupid and I don't know why you like that. I don't know why you want to go do this. I don't know why
Yeah.
you have to go get your nails done. I don't know, it was just everything to like the core of my being
Mhm.
was wrong
This
to
might
him.
be a little too much to ask, and we can always cut it if we need to. Did he have, by chance, did he have like an addiction to like pornography, or like was that an issue? Because for me, obviously finding out my ex-husband had a girlfriend, I'm like, who the heck are you? I'm not dead. I'm very much alive. I gave birth to a child, but um
Right.
he struggled with porn addiction.
Honestly, that's that's another thing that kind of differs in our story because he didn't.
Okay.
So sex was a big issue.
Mhm.
And without getting into a whole bunch of backstory of my health and life, but
Right.
I have PCOS and I have endometriosis.
Mhm.
So sex a lot of times is not pleasurable for me. It hurts.
Right.
When I'm in a flare up, it hurts. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And that was always a big issue also.
So
And
he
so there were
wanted
so
that.
many, yes, there
Uh-huh.
were so many times, and disclaimer, I'm not saying he essayed me,
Right.
but there were so many times that I would just let him do it because it was easier.
You felt pressure to
Yes.
just, yeah, and you just gave it. I
Yeah.
can relate to that. The first time, oh, I think it was maybe like the first, and then the first couple weeks that I was sexual with my ex-husband, I got pregnant, and it was
Yeah.
just like, it wasn't necessarily on purpose, you know what I mean? Like, but he
Right.
was like, "Oh, it's fine, it's fine." And then it was like sex became an obsession to the point
Yes.
where it was like that was all consuming. And
Mhm.
then it was like, if that's when like I noticed the emotional and verbal and the physical and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very sad.
So it's very sad. So yeah, but he didn't cheat on me. Wasn't addicted. He didn't look at porn at all. He didn't do any of that stuff. And also remember so vividly every time we would get in like a fight or like I would try to, because I try to be a rational person. So
Right.
like I would try to tell him like, you're treating me badly. This is not okay. Like you can't speaking to me like this is not okay. And I remember every conversation we had like that ended in the same way. Him saying, "But I don't hit you."
Wow. But I don't
And
hate
that,
you.
yeah.
That's
And like even saying that now like makes my chest clench up. Like I just want everybody who is listening to know verbal, mental, emotional abuse is still abuse.
yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I think too, and I'm not diminishing physical abuse at all, but being someone who's been abused both ways, I feel that the emotional abuse stuck with me longer
Yeah.
because bruises fade, like that kind of stuff fades, but that emotional sticks with you and then you think about it constantly.
Yes. Yeah. I wasn't going to say this at risk of like you said, diminishing physical abuse because I'm
Mhm.
not. But there were a lot of times when he would say that, I would say back to him, I wish you would.
Yeah,
Like, I wish you were physically abusive because then it would just be done and
done
go
and over
away
with. Yeah.
until the next time. Like, and then again, I am not diminishing physical abuse. I am so lucky that for the most part, he did not physically abuse me. There were a few times, and we'll talk about them here in a second.
Yeah.
But I am so, so thankful. And I'm so, so sorry for anyone who is going through that or has gone through that. But being somebody who has gone through more emotional abuse, like you said, it
Yeah.
does. The effects are lasting longer.
Do you know what's funny is, so I talked about how my ex held a gun to my head and chased me around the house.
Yeah.
I remember less of that situation and more of the fact that he was like, "You're a blank, 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 and I'm blank, blank, blank," and I'm not gonna like go into all of everything he said. That
Right.
stuck with me more than him putting a gun at me,
Hmm.
because it was like it just tore me in half, like my core to my being. It just like ripped my heart out. And I
Hmm.
remember him like being taken out in cuffs, and they were dragging him out and his eyes being coal black and him just looking at me and yelling those things. And that's what stuck
Yeah.
with me. And that's why, like, I feel when we say, like, be careful what you say, or like think about things before you say it, that is so true. Words, just because it doesn't leave a mark on you physically, are so important. You have to think about what to say, because you never know how that's going to affect somebody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I definitely, like you, I definitely remember just not necessarily specific things he said
Mhm.
because, my memory is crap now,
I think
but
that's your body's way of protecting itself.
right.
Yeah.
But I remember how it made me feel all the time. You know,
Yeah.
how I felt and still feel from it. But yeah, it just I don't neither physical, emotional, no abuse is okay, and none of it is
Yeah. I
good to
agree.
go through, and it all has effects. But yeah, I definitely remember like the emotional stuff more than the physical. The only really physical thing that ever really happened that I vividly remember was one time he held me down until I had a panic attack and then proceeded to scream and holler at me and tell me it wasn't a big deal and he didn't mean to, and that's not what actually happened.
Oh, so he was doing the narcissistic thing by telling you like that didn't happen.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So many times when I would like bring things up to try to
Yeah.
talk about them when he was calmer, it was always that didn't happen, or that's not how it happened,
Mhm.
or that's not what I meant.
Mhm. I
I've heard
actually
that so much. That's not what I meant.
Yeah, I actually have told my listeners, like, I got to a point where I was writing down what happened because I knew later that he would try to distort my reality.
Yeah,
And that's sad to think about, but that does happen.
it does. It does. I have listened to like true crime podcasts and stuff like that forever.
Yeah,
And you listen to some where women are abused or, women's husbands abuse them or, even women abuse men, but that's not as common.
right.
And I always said, I'd never let that happen. I'd just leave.
Mhm.
Well, you won't. You don't.
Yep.
You don't. So
I
this
laugh
was
because I agree with that. I'm the same way.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like, growing up, I'm like, oh, I would never let a man treat me like that.
No,
Joke's on me,
look
huh?
at how we came, like what we came from. Like our fathers were involved. Our
Yeah.
fathers were there. Like we didn't have daddy issues, like, like
Oh,
what society kind of makes girls out to be, like in those abusive relationships. That was
yeah.
not us at all.
No, absolutely not. My dad is the greatest. Like, and I'm sure you feel the same way about your dad. Like, our dads are great.
Yeah, we actually called each other's mom and dad because
Yeah.
that's how close we were. What did
Yes.
your mom and dad think when you like ended the relationship? Or did you, because I know you said like you haven't told them everything, and I'm the same way. I didn't tell my parents everything either.
Yeah.
What were
So,
their opinions?
I mean, I just told them it's not working out. I need to come home. That's all I told them.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh,
For the longest time, that is all I told them. And so I remember, so, my boss calling me in the office was kind of the start of me wanting, being like, okay, maybe I should get out of this,
yeah.
you know. But I'm not lying. It was probably 8, 9 months after that before I left.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so we'll talk about a few things that led up to like me actually leaving.
Yeah.
And I should probably put a trigger warning on this. We're going to talk about unaliving.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, so I vividly remember sitting on his couch one night. He was downstairs sleeping. I couldn't sleep. He was actually, leaving me alone, and of course I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
And so I remember sitting on his couch and literally, legitimately contemplating how I could end my life without my kid knowing.
I'm sorry you went through that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
like looking back, that is such an awful place to be.
I've been there.
And
I understand.
if, yeah, and if
Mhm.
anybody listening's there, like talk to somebody.
Yeah,
I,
don't leave because you're loved and you're wanted.
absolutely, my kid would have been devastated.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
But all I
She
could think about in that moment was like not having to deal with it anymore.
is that what stopped you from doing it? Is knowing like that you would leave her behind?
Oh, absolutely. If it wasn't for her,
Hmm.
honest, 100% honesty, if it was not for her, I would not be here.
Don't say that.
No, I mean, I wouldn't.
I know.
I really
Yeah, I
wouldn't.
know. I get
Like,
that. There is so much
so,
love between us for
yeah,
listeners. Like there's so much love between us. It's just it's really
yeah.
hard to hear you say that.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to think it. Like, it's hard to think that I was in a position where I thought not being on Earth was better than what I was going through.
Yeah.
So at that point, and so he was, and I'm not rationalizing it at all. Like,
Hmm.
what he did was completely wrong, and he should have never treated me like he did, and he should have got whatever help, therapy, whatever he needed. He was also in a very bad place in his life.
Yeah.
Like, disclaimer, his job was his life. Like, it was his it was his identity. So actually I was
Yeah.
just listening to a podcast called Shots Fired. It's a podcast that these two
I have heard
police
of that.
officers do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they were talking about this episode I just listened to a little bit ago was talking about not making like being a police officer your entire identity.
Yeah. My husband actually we have that. We've had that conversation.
Yes. And so my ex made being a correctional officer his it was his identity. It was it was him.
A
Like,
lot of them do that, I think. And like when they're together, all they talk about is work. And I'm like, shut the fuck
yes.
up.
Yes. And so like him not being able to go to work for so long, it changed him. I think he is a narcissist. Like you
Mhm.
you can't develop that. Like he is a
No.
narcissist.
Yeah.
But after he got put on leave, it definitely heightened it and it
Hmm.
changed him as a person.
Do you think it made him more aggressive or like depressed and like that sense of
Both.
purpose, like or control was
Yes.
gone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I honestly I really cannot believe I'm sitting here trying to like rationalize and explain why he did what he did. But like I do think that's why he tried to control me so much, is because that's the only thing he had in his life to control.
No, but that makes sense.
You
That
know?
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it it got to the point that he was sleeping with a revolver, a fully loaded revolver in our bed.
Is that when the gun was pulled on you?
No, that was before that. He
Oh
pulled the
my
gun on me
God.
before that.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, but I don't know if a lot of people know a lot about guns, but revolvers
Mhm.
don't have safeties. They don't have
Yeah.
anything like that. So, between the situation we talked about, me sitting on the couch, and then that started happening, I knew in my soul, if I didn't leave one way or the other, I wasn't going to leave.
Yeah. I actually had somebody tell me that. They said, if you don't leave, you're leaving in a body bag.
Yeah,
And that hit me, and I was like, oh my God. Yeah.
right. I cannot explain to you like the feeling in I just knew in my soul.
Hmm.
Like I knew that something was going to happen if I didn't leave.
Yeah. I can relate to that. I'm so happy that we've been able to get out of this. Obviously, we're going to do a part two
Yes.
and
Yeah.
three, or
Yes.
a couple parts, and
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
it more. I just, holy shit, like we have been through it. I'm so
Yeah.
thankful that you're here, and I'm so happy you're here. And I know your daughter needs you, and like you
Yeah.
have a purpose here. And like even
Yeah.
sharing your story, like you're sharing your story so that other people can relate to it and
Right.
have not feel so alone. Because I don't feel like back when we were going through things, I think that was like what, like pre TikTok or like right around TikTok or whatever.
Yeah, TikTok had like just
Yeah.
started being big.
But before then, people have not talked, like, this is not a normalized conversation. It's always like
No.
hush hush or like just push your feelings down and get over it. And
Yes.
you can't do that. You have to work
No.
through it. Yeah.
And yeah, and I feel like even when it is talked about as far as like abuse goes, it's always just physical.
And there's a
Physical abuse is
stigma.
yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I would love for people to realize that emotional abuse is just as bad
Yeah.
and it is abuse. And oftentimes it leads to physical abuse.
Yeah, it does. And if you are someone, and sounds really weird, but like if you are someone who like thinks it's okay to degrade your partner, that is emotional abuse.
Absolutely.
And I actually was guilty of that for a really long time. And I've talked about this really vulnerably. I hesitated for a minute, but I did that with Andrew because
Yeah.
I did not realize how much like my person had a hold of my person, good God, my, baggage had a hold
Yeah.
on me. And I was like, I had to stop myself and I was like, oh my God, like I am doing what was done to me like verbally. And I had
Yeah.
to stop myself. And like, that's hard to admit, but like emotional abuse is so damaging. So
Yes. Yeah.
damaging.
No, I feel the same. I mean, I there have been times that I've treated Adam as, my current
Yeah.
boyfriend,
Yeah.
and there have been so many times that I've treated him like shit. I've hollered at him, I've screamed at him,
Yeah. Do
and
you know?
it's because he triggered me and he didn't mean to. It's not
Yeah.
his fault. It's my fault for treating him like that.
And I always say like triggers um are our, I should say that. They are our like little like alarm clock. I think this is me like talking. I did not get this off like a website or something. They are our alarm clock that's like reminding us to work on our self-growth because often I feel like triggers, and this has taken me a long time to learn. Triggers are how we can grow and self-improve. It's like your
Yeah.
little alarm clock that's saying like, "Hey, you need to work on that. You need to work on that." If you get defensive,
Right.
and I actually made a podcast and it's about accountability. And I talk about the fact that like women don't just get a free pass to treat men like shit. We still have to take that accountability and work on that just because we're women. And
Yes.
it's like people shame us for going through stuff, but then they turn around and like then we aren't the ones that instigate it. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
a balancing act, I think.
Right. Yeah. And like I know you said, I've heard you say on the podcast, and hurt people.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
And that, as stupid as that sounds and as cliche as that is, it's true.
it's true.
So much of like, I don't want to say issues because we don't really have issues, but like so many arguments that me and Adam have gone through
Hmm.
are because of my trauma and
I
because
can
of my response to something that he innocently did or said.
I can say the same. I mean,
And then,
yeah,
in the moment, instead of just sitting down and being like, hey, please don't do that because of this reason,
yeah.
or like, hey, can we do this differently because it causes this response in my brain body? You
Mhm.
just react.
Do you
There have
think
been,
that, oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do you think that for us having like it's not even normal, having a good man, who we are like, oh, this is actually normal, having that is like almost like a wake up call for you? Because I feel that way. I'm like, oh, wow, this is how it's supposed to be. Okay.
It, yes, it is. And I feel like it's hard,
Yeah.
honestly. I did not, like, I've heard people say, oh, the first good relationship after you've been in bad ones is hard.
Hmm.
It's hard.
Very hard. It is. Yeah.
I struggle with like not feeling like he has ulterior motives to being nice, which is an awful feeling to have. Like, I should just be able to be happy that somebody's being nice,
No, I get it. I get it.
but I can't. I'm like, okay, when down the road are you going to throw this in my face? Like, what fight are we going to get into that this is going to get brought up again?
Yeah,
And it doesn't.
I had to learn that like Andrew, when he was like, "Oh, I need space," or like whatever, I had to learn that he wasn't leaving me because that's what my, did.
Yes.
and
Yeah.
he would leave, and then he would like use things over my head, and like he would threaten me,
Hmm.
and so I wouldn't know what to expect, and like that's not the case with my now husband. And yeah,
Yeah.
I had to learn how to not be a psycho fucking insane person who belongs in like a hospital. Like I was like,
Right.
oh, the world's ending. No, it's
Yes.
just it's normal. This is how
No, it's literally
communication's
just
supposed to be.
right. It's just a person acting like a human. Like, yes.
Oh my gosh. No, I love our conversation. We're gonna do resume part two, um,
Yes.
and then part three, because we have a lot to unpack.
Oh my goodness, yes. Part two, we will talk about me actually leaving.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Because that was also a traumatic, as I'm sure you're
Yeah.
you can relate to.
Yeah. It's just so weird to like look at how far we've come though. Like I just want to take a second, like acknowledge like you are so incredibly badass, and like I'm so happy that we both got out of what we did.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am so happy too.
We've been through a lot together, girl.
A lot.
Like I don't know if people really understand. We've been through when we've been through it.
Right. I mean, we've been friends since the start of middle school, so
Yeah, yeah, for a long time.
so
Yeah,
much.
I love you.
I love you
Is
too.
there anything else you want to say before we end? But obviously we're going to do part two and three, so like we'll continue this conversation. Is there anything you want to say before we go?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, as always, you guys, thank you for listening, and remember to not be judgmental, and don't make opinions or assumptions about anything that you have not personally experienced. And actually just, don't make judgments in general. Just don't be a shitty person. So with that being said, we will see you next time.